Good afternoon. Welcome to this week. We're live. It's Sunday. We got news. We got your questions. We got all of that. And we're going to have a pretty good stream. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to the energy that you guys are going to bring today. Looking forward to Mary and her like button. We got it all. So this is going to be a fantastic show. All right. Let's start off by mentioning Blossom. So Blossom is that social media app that is designed for, well, us, for investors. So it's pretty cool. You can hook up your portfolio to it, or you don't have to if you don't want to, but you can go in and look at what other people are doing, what they're talking about. There's a whole bunch of new features that are coming out really, really soon. So if you haven't yet checked out Blossom, head below, click on that link, sign up. Follow me when you get there because I'd love to follow you back. Any of you who are already over there and haven't followed me yet, just look for Candace Mountain. I'm the only Candace Mountain on Blossom. I would love to follow you back. All right, let's get to the chat right away because I can see we already got a whole bunch of stuff popping up. We got Jonathan saying, "Am I late?" No, you're almost never late. You're almost never late. Jordan, second in the house. Hello, on and all. Hope everyone is doing well today. Absolutely. I hope you're doing fantastic as well. Jonathan is happy Canada Day weekend. Yeah, absolutely. You gotta love a long weekend. And those of you who are fans of the fireworks, well, you're going to get an opportunity to watch them tomorrow night. Or if you're like my neighborhood, I can hear fireworks almost every night. They're just going off somewhere, or I don't even know where but they're close. And Jonathan says, yes, like the stream or I will send Mary after you. Yes, you don't want to get on Mary's bad side. So you definitely want to click that like button. Bismarcky says, happy Sunday all. And Enid's in here with a good afternoon, everyone, and happy Canada Day. And Terry is in with a Chauncey Gardner for U.S. President 2024. Happy Canada Day, people. Oh, yes. Now, there's stories in the week that I have not touched on in today's list. For example, we had that presidential debate. Oh, boy, did we ever have a presidential debate. You know a presidential debate is going pretty bad when Weird Al makes a song about it. And yes, he has. It's on YouTube. Just search for it. You'll find it. But yeah, that was not a good night for the current sitting president. He did not have a good night. So yeah, I'm a little worried, and I have a feeling that the Democrats in the states are a little bit worried too. Maybe there's even some talk behind the scenes about, do we have time to replace him? Is it possible? Maybe they might have to, because looking at that debate, I was like, I hate to say it. I mean, Trump walked all over him. But I honestly walked away from the end of that saying, I don't think I want either candidate. But luckily, I don't have to make that decision being a Canadian. All right, Andy's in the house with a hi, everyone. Hello, Andy. Good to see you. Andy is our friend from Europe. And we got Marion here saying happy Canada Day. Stands with a happy Sunday all. And we got Al Bundy from south of the border. Happy Canada Day. Jay is in with a happy Canada Day. And some John Doe is in saying, hi, Mountain. Hi, Doe. How you doing? How you doing, Doe? And we got Vic in the house saying, hi. Good. See, Vic, I told you you'd make this one. I know that the market closed on Friday. Vic missed it. He missed it. I did get a message, but he missed it. Oh, my gosh. Vic, why are you about to hit the road again? Like, do you, how? I want to know what your speedometer says. How many miles has your car driven, or kilometers? I have a feeling it's going to be a good amount, And you picked up another 100 BMO. Nice. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, like the main thumbnail, I went with a red theme for the office in the background, for the simple reason that June was not a great month. it was pretty much overall, it's overall a red month. So June was kind of a big nothing burger. But if you're looking to pick up stocks like Vic and his BMO, June was probably a great month for you. You're probably like, oh, yes, I just wish I had more money to spend. So not too shabby. And yeah, Vic got in at $113.82 per share. Now, what does the rest of the summer hold? I think, all right, now this is my opinion based on a few things, but what I'm looking at is I'm seeing the first half of July being a little on the flat side. But then the second half of the July, I'm going to see the market starting to pick up, and I think August is going to be a really good month, a solid green month. And part of the reason for that is, of course, presidential election. Statistically speaking, when we have a presidential election, holy banana bread, we tend to have a more significant green month, like the market does better most of the times when there is a presidential election. So there's no reason that won't hold up this year. You know, you could say, well, maybe there is. Look at the economy. Look at all of the crap left over from the pandemic. And I would say, yeah, sure, that might affect it. But right now, I think we have the chance. I think we have the chance. So we'll have to see. Vic is saying pays 5.44% annual dividend, so sitting on 700 shares with 155 per quarter. That's not too shabby. That's not too shabby at all. TD on sale and BNS racing to the bottom. Yes. Now, as I mentioned before, the 0 to 100K, that's the next video coming out, by the way. That is going to have a bit of an American flavor to it. So, definitely check that out. But the next one is going to be our quarterly rebalance. So we're going to see if there's anything I want to change in that portfolio. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. Right now, it's kind of what's really neat, and you'll see this in the challenge, because June was so red, and the last day of June was nice and red too, and we had a pretty crappy week. The numbers look terrible. They look terrible. The portfolio is still in the green, but not by much, which is, to me, and I say it in the video, it's kind of just, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because the market was just happened to be down at the end of the month. Now, if it had been a green day on Friday, I would have had a completely different number. So just one of these things to keep in mind, but it's going to look it's going to look very interesting. Okay. Vic says, Trump, Biden, the two Americans have to choose from. God bless America. Yeah. Well, you do have Worm Guy. RFK. I think he's running as an independent. So yeah, once again, not a lot of good choices here. Not a lot of good choices. You kind of almost, I almost kind of wish the Republicans, the Democrats would say, look, Joe, you can't go, you're just too old. You can't do it. We're gonna put somebody else in. Now, put somebody else in, put somebody in that's younger. One of the things they'll have going for them is I think there's a lot of Americans who are like, I don't like either candidate. If I could just have somebody who I could vote for, you'd probably have some of those people who would vote for this person if you brought somebody new in. So just a thought. I don't know if the Democrats are like listening to the show right now. I highly doubt it. But yeah, hey, sit down, Joe. Bring in somebody. Bring in Mo. I mean, I don't know. Just bring somebody in. You could bring in the governor of California. He's pretty popular. Just as a thought. Well, he's pretty popular to the people on the left. I know there's a lot of people on the right that don't like him, but it might be worth something. Al says that's pretty good, Vic, and CSU at 4K. Them Dems have to leapfrog Camila. What message does that send? Yeah, it's one of these things. It's really interesting. I find that when it comes to American politics, she is one of those vice presidents that you just don't hear a lot about, and that, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but she seems to be pretty low profile when it comes to vice presidents. So I don't know. I don't know. Here's the thing, though. Let's say they don't replace Joe, and let's say Joe manages to win. I will go out on a limb and say if he manages to win and gets back in office, I have a feeling he won't make it all the way through the term. It's just a feeling, and that Camilla, by that simple, or Kamala, by that simple measure, could end up being president, even if it's just for the very end piece. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Vic says she's the Mike Pence of vice presidents. I don't know about that. Well, I mean, the thing about Mike Pence is because Trump is so loud, it didn't matter who was vice president with Trump. They're going to be overshadowed by Donald. There's just no way around it. Let's see. Jamie Dimon for president. Oh, there we go. There we go. Right now it's just like, I would take a look and say, who do we have? Who do we have that's popular, that maybe wants to do the job? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this all turns out. I have a feeling that, by the end of the summer, we should have I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I imagine by the end of the summer, we'll know one way or the other. Because if they're going to do it, I think their big Democratic convention, I believe it's in August. So they would definitely have to do it by then. All right. Let's see. Tom Lee of Funstrist. Astro says she's the VP to Joe as Joe was to Obama, going full circle. That could be. That could be. And here's the thing. I haven't seen a lot of Kamala in the news. I can't really make any kind of judgments on whether she'd be good or bad. I honestly don't know. Vic is suggesting Jim Cramer. No, please no. All right. Vic now says Trudeau should resign and run for president. Oh dear gosh. Well, he can't. He wasn't. You have to be born in the U.S. to run for president, so he can't do it. He can't do it. Although there was a Canadian movie. I think it had Paul Gross in it years ago. It was a miniseries. And where he was the Canadian prime minister, and he manipulated a whole bunch of events in this movie. I think it had to do with almost like a water war. But he manipulated things to basically make the U.S. annex Canada. And it turns out by the end, what he was after is he wanted to be the president. And the only way he could be the president is if he was born in the U.S. And the only way for that to happen was for the Canada to get annexed. So it was an interesting movie. I actually kind of enjoyed it. But it was many years ago. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that or not. So Paul Gross, that was the guy from Due South. Just, in case you're wondering, wait a minute, who's Paul Gross? All right. Terry says, Jay Diamond. Let's see Trudeau dancing at Asian. Oh my gosh, yes. I heard about it. I haven't actually watched the dancing, but I heard it was interesting. Now, we talked a little bit about, of course, the debate between Biden and Trump. Now, up in Canada, of course, we had that by-election in Toronto, a riding that has been in a Liberal stronghold for more than 30 years, and they lost it. They lost it. So that's kind of telling. It's kind of telling. Now, I mentioned this as well, I think, in the market close, when they were talking to Church, the Liberal girl who was running. She had said when she was doing her door-to-doors, people were just telling her, look, we can't vote for your part. We can't vote for Trudeau, because it was like, they were kind of like not voting for the member of parliament. They were basically voting against Trudeau in many ways. So, they did send a clear message, and now, and here's the thing, at least one MP has come out. Well, I don't think he came out on purpose. His documentation got leaked. But they have at least one person, one MP that's calling for the resignation. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that's going to happen. I think he should resign. But I'll tell you, and I heard this on another thing I was listening to the other day. Somebody was saying that the best case for the Conservatives would be for him not to resign. Because if they're running against him, that'll be a pretty big landslide in their favor. Whereas if they did get rid of him and brought in somebody new, there's a chance that that the Liberals could repair some of the damage. I think that the Conservatives will still win, and they'll probably still get a majority, but the Liberals will be a little bit more respectful, I think, in the polls in that situation. So we definitely have to see how that's all going to turn out. I can't wait. This is going to be an interesting year in politics for sure. Wayne says, let's see, Kamala is not very popular in the U.S. according to my U.S. friends. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I here's the thing. Like I said, she just seems to be under the radar. Like I almost never see stuff on her. So, but yeah, maybe. Oh, let's see here. Due South. What a great show. Yeah, that was a fun show. It was definitely a fun show for sure. Vic says he's not hard in the eyes for sure. You're talking about Paul Grouse? I'm not sure. Driving in 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's get to our first news story since I've caught up with y'all. All right. And we'll bring it up again. All right. Inflation. It's back. That was another big thing that came out was our Canadian CPI. Now, we've been doing good. Our inflation rate's been coming down consistently over the last several CPIs, but not anymore. Tuesday, it came in definitely hotter than expected. So we were anticipating. So everybody was expecting a 2.6% year over year inflation number, but no, it came in much hotter than that. It came in at 2.9%. Holy banana bread. That's high. Now, the month over month, they were expecting 0.3%. It came in at 0.6%. But here's the bigger one. Core. So after we strip out gas and food and things like that, core came in really, they were expecting it to be 0.2. It came in at 0.4. So we had, we just had some inflation right across the board. So that was, I think the streak was about 4 months. So we had about 4 good CPIs, and then we had this one. Now, here's the nice thing. Before the next Bank of Canada meeting, we do have one more CPI to come out. So that will certainly play a role. But right now, based on this CPI, I can't see them cutting again in July. And I think a lot of economists, it's like communists. No, I think a lot of economists, let's just say, economists. There we go. I'm learning how to talk. And it's probably because I got this little pop filter here now. So it's kind of like, it keeps distracting me. I keep looking at it. I'm like, oh, I'm not used to seeing that. You can sort of see it right up here, the circle on it. It's supposed to prevent the little poppy noises. So, we'll find out. We'll see if it, I didn't even buy it really for the live stream. It's for just to help me edit a little bit easier on the main video. So we will see. But all right. So what we were talking about, is let's look at some of the drivers of that CPI result. So mortgages year over year, and this is kind of huge, was up 23.3%. And that makes sense because you've got people starting to renew their mortgages who had those pandemic lows, and they're now having to pay a whole bunch more. So look for that number to, especially as the bigger part of the wave starts coming towards the end of this year and into 2025, that number is going to go up. Rent as well was up year over year by 8.9%. Food was only up year over year by 2.4%. So food inflation does seem to be slowing, but the mortgage costs, the rent costs, those are going to keep going up. We're not going to solve that easily at all. So just something to keep in mind. All right. And we'll jump right into the next story. Before we do that, let's pull Vic off the screen here. All right. So we did have some GDP data that was released on Friday. So basically, initial data is suggesting that Canada's GDP in May is basically, it looks like it grew by 0.1%. That's pretty low. April, just to give you sort of a measure, on April, it was up by 0.3%, which I thought was low as well. But yeah, we're pretty close to zero. Now, there was stronger growth in manufacturing, real estate, and financing. But most of that was completely offset by some of the declines in retail and wholesale trade. Now, the retail, once we do have some rate cuts under, a few rate cuts, that will start to improve a little bit because people will, start to feel like, okay, we can spend a little bit now that the interest rates are coming down. But I don't think 1 or even 2 is really going to make a big difference. It's probably once we've got that rate down to under 4% that you'll really start to see some of that improvement in retail. So when we look at Q2, it is looking right now, because it was stronger. The economy was stronger in the beginning parts of Q2, but it is looking like we're going to come in at about 1.8%. But that could easily be skewed up or down depending on what we get for June. So if things hold steady, it should be coming in at 1.8%. So overall, the report basically shows that our economy is pretty lackluster. And it also suggests that we're looking at basically excess supply. And that makes sense too, because a lot of retailers are sitting on a lot of inventory. And that, that's just the way it is. I mean, if nobody's buying, right, you're just going to sit on your product. There's nothing you can really do about that. Now, with Canada's economy in excess supply, it does mean there is underlying price pressures to cool. So inflation all by itself should be coming down sooner than later. Now, this actual GDP result will be one of the things that the Bank of Canada will look at and say, yeah, this is what we want to see. This supports further rate cutting. So we have to see how this is all going to turn out. It should be fun. All right. And let's see here. Trevor says, hi, all made it here. Awesome. Wayne says, New York Times headline after the debate. God help us. Yeah, that was, it was one of those things. It's just like, there were times in that debate where I was just like, maybe we need a medic to help him off the stage. It was bad. It was pretty bad, but he did. Now, in all fairness for Joe, I mean, he said he was suffering from a cold. And I suppose when you're older, a cold probably hits you a lot harder than when you're younger. So that could certainly have played a role. He did have he did give a speech afterwards, and he was all fired up in that. And it was just like, well, why didn't you bring that fire to the stage? He was like, he was like yelling in his speech and everything, and he was just all ramped up. But unfortunately, he didn't bring that energy to the stage, and that's left an impact. I think it's left an impact on everybody. All right, now this next story, holy banana bread. This is a story that we started last week, but it has persisted, and in fact, there should be a question mark after the again now, but I had to come back and rewrite this story. I had written the story Friday with all the up-to-date information, and guess what? It changed. It changed over the weekend, and it's still a developing story, but the WestJet strike, holy banana bread. So, going back in time, we had this issue between WestJet and WestJet mechanics, and WestJet's mechanics had last week said, okay, here's your 72-hour notice for a strike. But they started talking between the two groups, so WestJet and the mechanics, and these were going well enough that they pulled back their notice. Great. Fine. Love it. Well, as things go, they didn't like the first offer that they were given, so they threw their notice back in. and it wasn't looking good. And we were heading towards the end of the week, and it looked like a strike was coming. We already had a situation where WestJet had already been starting to cancel some flights, and the government stepped in. And the government said, yeah, there's not going to be a strike. We're going to we need you guys to do some binding arbitration. And both sides said, sure, we'll do that. WestJet had offered that before, and it had been turned down by the mechanics. The mechanics said, sure, we'll do that. Because they had already, like I said, they had already served a second notice of a 72-hour strike. And then everything looked great on Friday. Everything looked fantastic. It looked like we were going to get binding arbitration. But guess what? We're not. Because you know what happened? The mechanics basically said, screw everybody. We're going on strike. And they did. So they walked out. Big strike. And here's the funny thing. WestJet. So the whole issue was over their wages. They wanted to make a respectable amount compared to other mechanics across North America. Well, WestJet caved and said, okay, here's a salary offer. It will make you the highest paid mechanics in the airline industry in Canada. And they were like, nope, we don't want it. And they're like, what? What do you mean you don't want it? And they're basically their stance is, well, we want a deal that will create change in the industry. So they're looking for a big payday, and they've already turned down what I think anybody would have thought would have been the most reasonable thing yet to make them the highest paid. And they're like, no, we want more. So the strike is gone. The strike is on. It has happened. WestJet is canceling flights like crazy. So if you have anything planned on WestJet, I would be leery. I would be afraid. I would be like making alternative plans, because if it isn't canceled yet, it could be. We don't know how long this is going to go on. And we also don't know what the government's response to this is going to be, because it's the weekend, and the government doesn't work on the weekend. So we'll have to see how this is all going to explode on Monday. But yeah, WestJet strike averted again. Nope, it's on. It's happening. They got the pickets. The planes are not flying. People are like, I can't go on my vacation this year. What am I going to do? So what can we do? What can we do? Holy banana bread. I'll tell you, what a drama. What a drama. That's what I'm going to say. It's like big time drama. I'm like, Anyway, Friggins in the house. Giddy up, giddy up. What's up? Not WestJet. That's who's not up. So we'll just throw that out there. Al says, Joe is only 3 years older, but his physical and mental status is like 20 years older than Trump's. It's interesting. I'll tell you, when I first saw him shuffling out to the stage, I was like, my God, he's sort of moving like a senior citizen in an old age home who's just shuffling to slowly go get his meds. I was just like, huh? There was no energy. It was a shuffle. So I kind of knew right from that moment, we're probably in trouble. And he was. Wayne says Biden was being coached at Camp David before the debate, lost his voice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I had heard about that on the news, and apparently Trump didn't practice at all. He said, "I don't need to practice. I'm talking to you guys is my practice." So he left it at that. Holy cow. Biden, sorry, Al Bundy, not Al Biden. Al Bundy says Biden's hand also shook like a Parkinson's patient's, which may also contribute to his mental capability. Yeah, no, he was off his game, 100%. Even if it was the cold. Here's the thing: if they don't get rid of him, if they don't replace him, I want to say like get rid of him. I mean, he's in there, he's done his job. But if they don't get rid of him, what they're going to need to do, what he's going to need to do, is he is going to need to come out very, very strong in the next debate. He cannot afford to have another debate like this. Otherwise, you're just handing the election to Trump. Simple as that. Ha ha, funny. Al says Al Al Biden. Ah, there we go. Oh gosh. The fun. I think, you know what? If you haven't hit that like button yet, do it now. I'm going to have a little bit of coffee here. Oh, that's good. Oh yeah, you're funny. I love you, Ken. You're awesome. All right. Next news story. Let's pull it up here. All right. So the US, oops. Oh, I was like, did I just hit something? But I hit the little pop filter thing. So the US had their PCE report that came out. So the PCE report, that there is your personal consumption expenditures, and it's one of the Feds. The Feds loves this report. It's one of their favorite measures for inflation. Here's the thing. They were expecting 2.6. They got 2.6. April was actually 2.7. So it has come down. Month over month, they were expecting a rise of 0.0. They got 0.0. Their core PCE, they were expecting a 0.1. They got a 0.1. They got exactly what they were expecting. And that's a really good thing. These are not bad numbers. The Fed's going to like these. So consumer spending, which is basically, it's a very significant driver of the overall U.S. economic activity. So yeah, it increased for 0.2% for the month, accelerating from a 0.1% the month before. It's not bad. So a little bit more spending, that's a good direction. It's not a bad report. So I have to definitely say that. Now, the May report, it did boost investors' optimism for a September rate cut. So people are looking and saying, you know what, we just might get that September rate cut. Now, on Friday morning, the probability, so before the PCE dropped out, people were thinking there was about a 59.5% chance of a rate cut in September. They're now pegging that at 61.1%. So it helped a little bit. Obviously, though, we still get a lot of information and data that will come out before then that will certainly help us decide exactly what they're going to do. Let's see. Friggin says, I think Biden needs to step down. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say step down. I mean, finish your term. You're almost there. You can make it. You can make it. But a second term, no, I don't think so. Friggin says cuts need to start coming. Too many people drowning in credit use. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is true of both Canada and the US. There's a lot of people that are just maxing up cards, applying for new cards so that they can max them too. So yeah, personal debt is growing at a huge amount. And yeah, it's going to be tough for a lot of people because even with lower rates, all that extra debt that you've paid on, it still has to get paid off. I imagine down the road, we're going to see things like personal bankruptcies on the rise. But even if you declare bankruptcy, you still have to, you still have to pay the money back. It's just that there's no more interest once you've declared bankruptcy. And then they kind of work out a deal where you're paying things off, but you're not, and it's almost like you're given an allowance from everything you make. And it might be a little different between Canada and the US, but that's one of those things you don't want to do. You certainly don't want to do it. People don't know how to budget. No, people don't. A lot of people, it's like, can I afford it? They'll look in their wallet and they see a credit card. Yep, I got room on this credit card. That's not the way it should be. Now, I've heard one of the famous, if you've ever watched a YouTuber out of the US called Minority Mindset or something like that. He has a saying where it's like, if you can't afford to buy two of them, then you can't afford one. So it's kind of that whole thing. And a lot of people are like that. It's like, especially if you're one of these people who wants to sort of keep up with the Joneses, it's like, oh, the neighbor's got a new car. Oh, our car works fine, but we better get a new one too, because we don't want the neighbors to think we can't afford a new car. Or that person who has to have the newest iPhone every single time. Like I know one guy. He every year buys the new phone. He doesn't actually sell his old phone or trade it in. He just likes the fact that he's got a bunch of collection of phones, but that's fine. That's fine. Now, in his case, I mean, he makes a good amount, so he can definitely afford it. But a lot of people get pulled into that where they were like, okay, new iPhone, I need it. And this is going to be an interesting year too, because if you are in the Apple universe, in the Appleverse, they're going to have AI on this new phone, and this is going to be the most significant upgrade in a long time. So there's a lot of people who are like, okay, I need that phone. I need to have the iPhone 16 for sure. And Apple's counting on that. But here's the thing. If your phone works fine and it meets all your needs, you don't have to get the iPhone 16 to get AI, for example. You can download like the ChatGPT app onto the phone right now. My iPhone 11 has the ChatGPT app, and I can have a conversation with ChatGPT on the phone. So you can still use it. Just something to keep in mind. All right, Friggin says, credit paying credit, not a good idea. No, exactly. And that's where you can get into a little bit of a vicious cycle where it's like, okay, well, I need to make all my minimum payments, but to do that, I'm going to need to borrow a bunch more. And the worst thing is, as a lot of times, a lot of credit cards, if you have to use a cash advance, the interest rate's higher. So you really want to be careful. Now, Al's a super cheapskate and proud of it. Nothing wrong with that. Minimalism is great. There's nothing wrong with minimalism at all. Slick Pete. Let's see. We need those people to keep the economy going. So spend, spend, spend. Yeah, build up that debt. Just keep everything moving for me while I'm going to sit back and invest and make some sweet stock market money. Nothing wrong with that. Enid says, love ChatGPT. Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's pretty darn useful. And like I said, I make the thumb, like that eagle there with the piggy bank and the American flag. ChatGPT made that. I basically just described the image as I wanted. I said, okay. I said, please make a picture or a photorealistic picture of a bald eagle holding a piggy bank wrapped in an American flag. And that's what I got back. And I'm like, perfect. That's what I wanted. Now, sometimes, ChatGPT will give me back something that I'm like, nope, that's not what I wanted. And I have to, try a couple of times. But, it saves so much time because that image alone probably took about maybe 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I mean, probably the longest part of that whole process was me thinking what image I wanted. But yeah, I love it. Now, in the olden days, if I had a budget, and I would really need to have a budget, I'd have an artist. And then what would happen is that artist would sort of sketch up a rough outline and show me, is this kind of the image you want? And I'd be like, well, no, I need it to look a little bit like this. And then I'd get it back. And it probably cost me a couple $100 just for the image. So yeah. Yeah, no, I'm loving AI. Absolutely. Bismarcky says, take a cash advance to pay MasterCard. Oh gosh. Yeah. Why is Visa so low? $263. I haven't really looked at Visa in a bit. If you want, Enid, ask again after we're finished the new stuff so I can bring some stuff up and we can look. While you think about that, I'm going to very quickly have a sip of that coffee. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let's see. People don't take enough cash advances from Visa. There we go. It's like, yeah, it's all of our faults. It's like, come on, people, stop paying off your cards early. We want to make interest on you. Take out them cash advances so we can make more interest on you. Holy cow, them Visa folk. What can we do? I don't know. All right, next story. So we got a bunch of unpaid taxes going on with our businesses. So the Canadian businesses currently owe the CRA $19.4 billion in outstanding sales taxes from 2023. So this is up 3.2 billion for the first from if you go back 1 year ago, it's 3.2 billion higher than a year ago. So for 2022, so 2022. So yeah, it's definitely up. And this, by the way, before the pandemic, it was about half that. So we have doubled the amount of sales tax debt that these businesses are carrying. We've doubled that since the pandemic. But it makes sense because things changed. A lot of businesses had to struggle just to even stay in business during the pandemic, and it's really starting to hit. So small and medium businesses are feeling these problems the most, with 64% of them are citing some serious cash flow problems. Well, that's not good, not good at all. Now, as a result, excuse me. So, okay, so the rises in unpaid taxes, they have coincided with business insolvencies. So we got a lot of businesses that are going insolvent, going out of business. So we got both of these issues happening at the same time. Canada has not seen anything this bad since that Great Recession we had back in was it the 80s? Now the economy does need healthy businesses, of course, to drive competition and innovation, and to give people jobs. So that's kind of important, especially with our increased population. We need to be able to give folks some jobs. Now, despite record population growth, Canada currently has, this is kind of a concerning statistics, but we have 100,000 fewer entrepreneurs than 20 years ago. So right now, people are just afraid. They're afraid to open a business in this environment. And that's not good for the economy. That's not good for our GDP, and that's not good for people just having jobs. So just something to keep in mind. Whew. Let's see here. Terry says, I don't even search for dirty limericks anymore. You just get them from ChatGPT. Make me up a funny limerick that's a little bit on the naughty side. There we go. Isn't AI like going into a bubble in a couple of years for the tech industry? I think people love to say that. They love to say, oh, if this is going into a bubble. But I mean, the reality is we're at the beginning of something. We're at the beginning of sort of a life. Well, it is a life-changing. It's a life-changing technology, and I don't see us as actually in a bubble whatsoever. You will have companies that create their own little bubbles along the way. But I think the main driving force of AI is going forward. And I don't think we can stop it. I honestly don't think we can stop it. With that being said, here's an interesting thing. We're moving in a direction where, between robotics and AI, it's going to be really, really, really interesting. So if you go back to the internet, so when the internet first came out, back in the days of phone modems, a lot of people, a lot of people didn't have it, of course. And a lot of people were like, oh, this internet thing, I think it's just a fad. It'll go away. It's not here to stay. A lot of people thought that. And we're sort of seeing a mirroring of that into AI. So a lot of people are saying, well, this is nice. This is kind of cool, but it's not going to stay. But it will. It will. I mean, you just look at the fact that AI, so take a business. The amount of work they can now get out of an employee who's using AI is a lot more. So that increases that productivity. It also means that business may not have to hire a second person, because one person with AI can do the work of maybe two people. So if that is something that saves money for businesses, of course it's going to take off. And I look at it this way. I mean, I look even a year ago, my process of making videos was longer, because I didn't have AI to help on things like making images. So for example, for the live streams. So of course, the live streams, I didn't even have images, because it's like, I did not have the time to try to piece together an image that wouldn't look very good. So just something. Now, Al does seem to agree with you, Andy, and and I could be, and I will say I can be wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think I am. All right. Terry, Terry says, I don't even write my own dirty limericks anymore. ChatGPT does all that legwork for me. There you go. Andy says, I think we have entered a financial cycle that AI drives the market for some time. Maybe some years after it reaches stability, normal companies get back on track. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Once AI becomes more integrated, and once we finally have like AGI, and we will have AGI, we will hit an equilibrium. You know, things will still continue to improve. Like that's the way, that's technology, right? Technology is always improving. But we'll get past that whole newness of AI. So that way, even though AI may still be developing and getting better and better every single year, it won't be as big of a shock to us because we're already past all of the initial shocks of everything changing the way it is right now. So yeah, I'm definitely on board. I'm on board with whatever it is going to bring us. And Vic is back from his drive. Awesome, Vic. Awesome. All right, we got another news story for you. Boo, boo, boo. Oil sands are pumping. All right. So a report has come out this week on Alberta's oil sands, and it looks like they are they're pumping a lot of oil. So in fact, they're expected to see their oil production increase by over 17% over the next 10 years. So, you know, that's good for the economy. That's good for Alberta. It's good for Canada. It's a good thing. So this report comes amid other studies posting. See, there we go. It's time to have a drink of coffee when I can't even read my own handwriting. Well, my own typing. I type it out. So the report has come while other studies basically are saying that oil is probably going to peak. So the International Energy Agency, they predict that 2029 will be peak oil. Goldman Sachs is saying 2034. We don't know when peak oil is going to come, but after peak oil, you know, oil is going to be in demand for a long time. So I think Alberta is looking really strong for a very long time. So the oil sands, they're a huge part of they're a huge part of Canada's energy sector overall. As a matter of fact, they make up for. So when you look at oil that's coming out of Alberta and BC, it's making up almost 66% of our GDP. Or sorry, not 60. Ooh, let me take that back. No. It is a significant part of our GDP, but it does account for about 66% of our Canadian oil equivalent production last year. All right. Whew, there we go. I don't know how I threw that 66% on the other side, but it happens. Wait till I do my my open to close. We'll see how many. It'd almost be funny to do like a compilation video of every time I get tongue-tied, that entire stream. That would be funny. Now, Alberta's oil sands, they're primed to thrive as operating costs decline. And of course, we got the TMX, so the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. That's going to nearly triple their export to the West Coast. Now, thanks, of course, once again to the TMX, California and Washington are both set to import 150,000 barrels a day of Canadian crude by tanker. So this is basically 7 times more than our average levels of exports. So that's good. That's good because that's been one of the big issues that Canada's had, is we haven't been able to export it as fast as we can pump it. But that pipeline is certainly helping with that. So, all right, we get the next story. I love the next story. But let's see what you guys have said first before that. I bet it's 2035 because of the car laws. You can do this. Absolutely. Oh, of course I can do it. I'm very good at getting tongue-tied. So that is that's a given. So the next story, it's funny. When I ran into the story, the first thing that happened is I thought of the picture I wanted. So I'm going to put this up here first. And I love this. I was just like, you know, ChatGPT, and it took me, it took probably 4 or 5 tries for ChatGPT to get this right. because I was like, I need this picture to be exactly right. All right, let's pull it up. And those of you, and I did show it to the people on the market close the other day. So Sony gets royal. Sony gets royal. Now this picture should be resonating with a lot of you guys. It should be completely resonating. So basically, I won't make you guys guess because some of you already know because you watched the market close. So Sony has purchased the entire Queen catalog, which is it's actually estimated to be worth 1.27 billion USD. So that works out to around 1.7 Canadian. So this here is the largest sale of a music catalog in history. So some of the previous records were Bruce Springsteen. He sold his catalog for 500 million. I believe Michael Jackson's estate sold half of Michael Jackson's stuff for about 600 million. So this is huge. This is absolutely huge. So Sony is going to get all the rights to the songs. They're also going to get the rights to the likeness of the band, their logos. So pretty much everything except for live concerts. So all the live concert revenues the band will still get. But Sony owns everything else. Everything else completely. So you might be thinking, that's a lot of money. Why so much money for a band that's not even putting out new material anymore? Well, okay, well, of course it's Queen, but let's just take a look at one song. Just one song in their catalog. And that song, of course, going back to that picture, is Bohemian Rhapsody. So here's an interesting statistics. Right now, everywhere, if you look at the entire world, Bohemian Rhapsody will be on a radio station at least once per hour. So just looking at the world. It is the most streamed song to come out of the 20th century. On Spotify, it's been played more than 2.5 billion times. Even the YouTube video for Bohemian Rhapsody, it's received more than 1.8 billion views. So it's like iconic. It is absolutely iconic. And I can understand why they might do this. I can definitely understand why they might do this. And this is the interesting thing. This is this kind of thing happens like even on YouTube, for example. There's a group that will buy your back catalog for really popular YouTubers. So I believe, I can't remember, I don't know if this has gone through or not, but I know they were in negotiations with Mr. Beast. They wanted to buy all of his old videos so that they would get all of the money from people watching the old content, and they'd give him a lump sum. But they would then have the rights to all the old content. So that happens, because there's a lot that you can actually do with that. There's a lot of money that you can be making. So yeah, absolutely. Queen. I hope Sonny knows that Freddie is dead. Yeah. But there's artists like that will continue to sell even when they're dead. Queen is one of them. And I did read as well in an article that a lot of millennials and Zoomers are starting to rediscover Queen. And that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that new generations are finding it and loving it and buying it and streaming it and all of that fun stuff. And Vic says, wow, don't stop believing. Well, that's Journey. That's Journey, Vic. That's not Queen. Queen isn't Queen without Freddie. Yeah, but keep in mind, all of this back catalog is all Freddie. So that's an interesting thing. So one of the things that was really interesting, so when Queen decided to take on Adam Lambert to become their full-time singer, frontman, they never made any new material. And I think that's probably a smart thing on their part. It's like, let's not add new material. We'll keep all the old material, all the Freddie material, but we're not going to sort of dilute that by creating something new. And I think that was probably a very smart move on their part. They can pretty much go anywhere they want, even with Adam Lambert, and still sell out. And still sell out any arena. So they're still really popular. And I think, I think that was a bright move on the sign of Sony. All right. Whew. That's the news. Let's see. I don't really have anything for Crypto Corner other than the fact that it's been a slow week for crypto. Um, Not a lot happening, a bit of ups, bit of downs, kind of stuck in that low 60,000 range. And, part of it is simply for the reason that, wait a second, let's pull that back up. Something is part of it. Part of it is I'm having a Biden moment. That's what it is. It's like I've been talking about Joe Biden so much, and now it's like, oh, I'm having my own Biden moment. But yeah, one of the things that's been going on with the miners is that as they're waiting for the price impacts of the halving, we're at a situation where they're having to sell just to sort of keep their lights on. So that's part of the buying pressure that we've been seeing. But that is absolutely normal. So things should look around, and I'm expecting usually about 4 or 5 months after the halving, that's when you really start to see some of these bigger price movements. So we're definitely going to look at that. That's going to be really, really, really cool. Okay, I can get rid of these now because we are done the news. Let's boom. All right. And let's actually move me over to full screen. And I am going to give me a second here. I'm going to pull up the second screen so that if you guys want questions on anything specific, I can pull it up. All right. There we go. Perfect. Takes us into the Discord. And we'll move me down here. There we go. Perfect. All right. Now we have that all ready to go. Fantastic. All right. Let's get back to the chat. Didn't they get some guy from the Philippines? I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of there's a lot of people out there that would have been really good. Have you ever heard of? There's a Canadian actually by the name of Mark Martel, and you can't even tell it's not Freddie. He's so good at emulating Freddie's singing style. So there's a whole bunch. You'll go down a rabbit hole if you start listening to some of his stuff on YouTube. But yeah, he's amazing. Now he was so good that when they made the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, they actually did bring him in for some of the Freddie vocals for singing. So he did do a little bit within the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. Cece says, banks are saving 5x above average for foreclosures. How bad do you see the renewals going? I see it as going pretty badly. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say everything's going to be fine, because a lot of the people who did take out these mortgages, they took it out thinking that they had a long time at very, very low rates. And these are a lot of people that just don't have the finances to handle the higher rates. So when things come around, when things start coming around to renew, all of a sudden they're going to be looking at very huge increases in their mortgages. And their economies, well, their personal economies, their budgets are not going to be able to support that. Now, what the banks will do is the banks don't want to foreclose. Let's just be clear about that. So they're not sitting back saying, oh, God, we're going to get all them houses. They're not doing that at all. They're saying, okay, how can we not foreclose? So that's why you can see they've already been working on extending amortizations as far out as possible, even to the point that you will have people in a situation where, they're not even going to be paying on their principal. They're just going to be paying interest. And, if a bank really, really pushes that amortization out, you could get to a point where you're paying interest, but not all the interest. So your principal's actually getting bigger every month. So at the end of all of this, you could end up with a higher debt, on your mortgage than what you started. So, you got to ask yourself, is that better than being foreclosed on? So that's one of those things that you have to sort of think about. It probably is, because, if you lose your house and you have to then find a place to rent, well, good luck with that. And with the rents going up, I mean, you might still be in a situation where you can't really afford it. So I think the banks will do everything they can to prevent people from getting foreclosed on, but there will be people that do. those are going to be those people who, they grabbed the really low rate and that's all they could afford. And no matter how much the bank works with them, they may not be able to afford it. So there will be some people. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I think it's going to be rough. Like the banks are, they're not putting this money aside as in case, just in case we run into some issues. No, this money is being put aside to deal with the issues that will happen. So that's one of these things. Now, if for some reason, and this is the beautiful thing, if for some reason with rate cuts, they get a little bit less than what they were anticipating, that's great. They would have extra money. Like if they put aside too much money, that would be fantastic. But it's going to be really hard to see. Like some economists believe that they haven't put aside enough. Some believe they put aside more than enough. And here's the thing. I mean, the banks will keep putting more on as it's not like they can't add to their safety net. They can add to it every quarter if they want to, and they have been. Especially, and you'll probably see them add more because like I said, the big wave of these these mortgage renewals is coming in 2025, and at end of this year into next year, that's where we're going to see a lot of them. But 2025 will be that big year. So, they will keep on sort of judging where things are and how things are looking as they move towards it, and they will put more money aside. So what that means, though, as investors, as we look at the banks, that means that their recovery, as we move into, as we move in through the bull market, and as we get some rate cuts, it's not going to be an explosive recovery. It'll be a slow, steady recovery because some of that money is going to be going sort of, instead of going into the growth of the company, it'll be going into basically buffering up those loan loss provisions. All right. Vic says, wait, Journey and Queen are not the same. Mind blown. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Journey's a good band. Journey is a good band. And Steve Perry had a solo album in the 80s. That was pretty good too. Enid says, can you please look at Visa? Anybody else know something I don't about Visa? Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I did say to ask me after we finished the thing. All right, let's get over here and let's take a look here. Right now, we're still on Nike from the other day. All right, let's go to Visa. Here we go. All right, let's take a gander here. All right, so here is our 5-year. So actually, let's go to the 3-year. But you can sort of see here, like this here was a little bit of a bear market, and Visa's been in a little bit of recovery. But they haven't done that bad. They have not done that bad. So they're coming down a little bit right now. Like that was quite a drop right there. So it makes me think they had an earnings call. Let me take a look and see. All right, let's go to, MC list is fine. All right, we're going to put in Visa here. Let's bring up Visa. All right. All right, here we go. Visa. Oh, let's see here. Oh, what happened here? We did not have an earnings call. So we had a very big drop. So they went from 279 down to 261. And that's really interesting because look at this here. Look at this gap right here. So this gap, it's because that's where they closed and then they opened down here and they came back up. So something's going on with Visa. Let's take a look here and see if we got anything in. All right, let's see. Flexible payments for Canadians, new card replacement, shop Visa. Visa expands payment options. Judge tosses the cards, swipe free settlement. Okay. There's nothing. Well, here's something. That was 4 days ago. They had their price target revised. All right, from 335 to 330. Okay, so there seems to be a little bit of downward pressure on Visa, but I'm not sure exactly what caused that drop. But let's go back to Visa here for a second. All right, so everything is looking fine down here. They don't have very much, so they're more of a growth stock. They don't have a huge dividend. I want to come into the key data for a second. All right, so as we know, look at this. They have their return on equity, their return on assets, definitely good. I like both of these. They've got a debt to equity ratio 53%, so that's not too shabby. Not too shabby, especially because, Visa is, Visa, they're in that financial sector. So they tend to carry more debt, but they're not like a bank. A bank would carry a lot more debt than Visa, because Visa is more or less, they're doing the loaning more than anything else. But that's not too bad. That's not too shabby. So I like some of the initial things on Visa, and I'm kind of curious here. Let's take a look at one more thing here. I'm going to go to simplywall.street. All right, just log me in. Here we go. Visa. Whoops, not B Visa. Whoops, let's try that again. There we go. Visa. So let's see here. All right, so just a couple of things right off the top. So their earnings last year grew by 16.9%. They're expected they're forecast to grow by another 10.16%. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing negative in any of the checks, any of the risk checks on Visa. So here's my thoughts. Just from doing this, I would still want to dig a little deeper, but I think that right now, with Visa being down a little bit at this point, let's bring that back. I would call this a buy the dip opportunity if you are into Visa, because everything looks really strong. So here's that big dip that you were referring. I think Visa is going to be fine. Now, Visa will have some issues, of course, because they're holding they're holding people's debts. They're lending out money. There will be defaults. Like the banks, Visa will put aside their own loan loss provisioning. They will be preparing for what is to come as well. That's a normal part of that business. And a normal part of that business is defaults. People are always defaulting on credit cards, but that is built into their metric. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll bounce back, if anything. Right now, at 262, I can easily see them getting back to, they can even get back to like 290. They could get back to that high again. That's not unreasonable. It's not going to happen overnight, though. So it's one of these situations, and Visa is one of these stocks, because they're not a high dividend stock, that, they're that blue chip stock that you want to hold for a long term. So I think Visa will be fine. Okay. Let's see. Michael says, no hope for Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin. Right now it is difficult for Bitcoin miners. The halvenings there, they're making basically half of what they were making before. So that is going to be rough until that price starts going up and we start to run into basically a supply shock. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that there's no hope, but right now it probably does not feel good to be a miner. And some miners, we've actually covered this in the news, some miners have started taking some of their resources and giving it out to AI. Well, not giving it, but saying, look, we got all of this data processing. We can help you out. And they've been renting out parts of their operations to different AI data centers. So that's kind of interesting. Look at Boyd. Oh, good old Boyd. All right, let's take a look at Boyd. BOYD. Where is my Boyd at? Well, there's Boyd Group Services. There we go. Boyd Group Services. I assume this is going to be the right one here. Yeah, auto body and gas repair. Perfect. All right. Yeah, once again, another growth stock. They don't have a lot of dividend. And yeah, not bad. Okay, you can see the bear market, and you see they've been moving up. But then we've got this been kind of a bit of a major correction. So since the beginning of the year, we haven't had the best 2023 or 2024, but they have come back up a little bit. Let's take a little bit of a gander in here. Now, that's a little low. It's not terrible. I mean, it's positive. And 3.23 on the return on assets. So they had a 9.30 return on equity. They do have a lot of debt, though, 140% debt to equity ratio. So that's definitely concerning. But at the same time, it's going to be this is going to be a company, any company like this that has a lot of extra debt, the rate cuts are going to help them. And one of the things about auto repair is as people are not spending as much on like new cars, then it becomes time to start looking at what's the word? Repairing your old beater, trying to get as much mileage out of your car as you can. So I think anybody within that industry is probably going to be they're probably going to do well over the next little while. So I think Boyd will be fine. Hopefully, though, they work on that debt. That's what I would like to see. Get the debt under control. All right. Is it time to sell Bird Construction? Oh, Bird Construction, they've been absolutely blowing it, as in blowing it up. Here we go. Bird Construction. Let's take a look at this. Let's look at the 1 year. That's a nice trajectory. That is a nice trajectory. They've been doing absolutely fantastic. There's no signs right now that they're going to slow down. So here's the thing. Is it time to sell Bird Construction? I would say no. I would say no way will I sell Bird Construction. So, I do have, of course, a rebalance video coming up on the 0 to 100. And I did add Bird Construction, and they're doing really well in the portfolio. But they're not even on my radar for rebalancing. If anything, I would love to see a correction and maybe get a little bit more. But yeah, no, I'm pretty bullish on Bird Construction. Now, Bird Construction, they're really they're going to be in high demand. Anything construction related, as we have this push on infrastructure and on building homes, it's all going to come in. Now with Bird Construction, here, let's pull this up here. So you can see they're a general contractor here in our construction market. So they do look at a lot of the industrial, commercial, and institutional sectors. But keep in mind, they may not be doing houses directly, but the whole push for infrastructure, there's a huge demand. And we've already seen this in their price. Their price has been coming up. And I have a feeling their return on equity will look pretty nice too. Let's take a gander at that. Let's see here. So yeah, 23.48%. And return of assets 5.38. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Their debt to equity, love this 27% debt to equity ratio. So I'm thinking I like it. I'm still a huge fan of Bird Construction. Now, Bird Construction is also on the New York Stock Exchange as well. So, for those of you, for the American folks, if you're interested in it, gosh, what is it? It's like Bird F, I think. Let's see here. Here it is, Bird F. I'm not sure what the F stands for, but there it is on the US exchange. And, you come back out, it's the exact same story. So definitely a stock worth throwing on your watch list at the very least. I would do due diligence on it, though, of course, before you buy. But I'm still in the Bird Construction camp. Let's see. I've gone down so many gopher holes in YouTube. Oh, God. Yeah. It's easy. That's what YouTube wants, right? They want you going down gopher holes because that keeps you on, keeps you watching. They make money. Let's see. The housing data this past week was lower than the COVID outbreak. Yeah. I mean, right now, like I said, especially in Canada, right now we're not producing enough houses. We're not moving fast enough. There's a lot of different reasons why we're not moving fast enough. One of the biggest reasons is there's a lot of red tape, and the government is always saying, "Yeah, we're gonna remove the red tape." Well, don't talk about removing the red tape. Remove the red tape. Let's get things moving faster. The other thing is, at one point we had a big issue, of course, with skilled laborers. So with our labor force, we were running into a situation where they just didn't have the people. But that seems to be looking a little bit better. So yeah, let's start building. Let's start building. Let's see, GTN heading up, which dips to $5 Monday. Then I buy the dip since 19 insiders bought. Yeah, and it's one of those things, like when you're looking at a stock, sometimes it is nice to look and see what the insiders are doing. So insider selling or insider buying. So sometimes when there's a lot of insider buying, it usually shows that people who are working for that company are very bullish on that company. And even though they may not have special information, they're a lot closer than we are looking at news articles and things to get information. So it's not a bad thing to look at. It's really not at all. Let's see, data that we're been getting close to signs of a recession. Um, it's kind of interesting. So it depends on how, like the way we measure a recession, we're not in a recession. But there's a lot of people that think we aren't measuring it the right way. That if we were looking at like GDP per capita, then we would have a different story. And at that point, we would be in a recession. I can't disagree with that. So, it's like we're I'll call it recession adjacent. But as our GDP keeps getting lower, because as you guys saw in that story earlier, April, it went from 0.3 down to 0.1. So where's the next step if we keep moving in that direction? Maybe negative 0.1. So we could technically, and we've been very, very close. But yeah, there could certainly be a recession. But keep in mind, I think the government, especially as we're heading towards an election year in 2025, I think they're going to do everything under the sun to avoid a recession, because that's just never. Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think the liberals can do anything to sort of save themselves anyway. But I think Trudeau just seems to think he can still pull it out. I don't know whether it's delusion or whether it's just, he's just one of these people who cannot, his own ego will not let him surrender. So under that circumstances, I don't think he would let a recession happen. It could be bad if that were the case, but we'll have to see. We'll have to watch as this plays itself out. I'm really looking forward to, seeing how it all turns out. Although I may not like how it turns out, but I'm still looking forward to seeing and observing how it all comes down. Let's see. Am I thinking right that most stocks of NVIDIA suppliers underperforming NVIDIA isn't as a NVIDIA valuation warning? Yeah. So let's take a look at NVIDIA here. All right. All right, here we go. So NVIDIA, of course, we'll bring up their 1 year. They've had quite a run, and a lot of people, holy banana bread, a lot of people made money on this swing up for sure. And this swing as well. So we are in a little bit of a correction, but to me, that's absolutely normal. And I know there's a lot of theories going on saying, oh my God, it's over, it's done. It's time to cash in everything. No, it really isn't. Right now, we're heading into the summer. It is a little bit slower. And I think where you're really going to start to see NVIDIA pop off again won't be until the fall. So between now and then, if you're looking to get into NVIDIA, it's probably a good time. I would look at probably a dollar cost average. I don't think it's going to go much lower. It might go a little lower, but it won't go much. And I think we're going to see a lot of sideways. So I don't think we're going to, when we look at this top, the peak here at here we go. What is it? Let's just go right there. 136.33. So when we look at that, we may reach up and touch it a couple of times through the summer, but I see us probably oscillating between, 136 and probably about 118. So just sort of moving back and forth a little bit. But I do think the second part of the summer we'll move a little bit higher in that swing, and I think in the fall it's going to look really good as we start to get a better indication of what's going to happen with, for example, GPT-5, because you got to look at it this way. Right now, NVIDIA they're a monopoly when it comes to AI chips. They really are, because nobody, and it's not even the chips that are the monopoly. It's that software that integrates their chipsets into, being able to work in tandem with each other to be able to do what AI needs, what AI data centers need for it to do. That's huge. That is huge. And nobody is close. So watched one news article where they were saying that most chipmunks, chip makers, not chipmunks, most chip makers. Whoa, there we go. Most chip makers are a good 10 years behind where Nvidia is right now, and that's a good place to be if you're a Nvidia fan. So have some patience. There's always going to be, now you take something like Nvidia, there will always be those doom and gloomers. They'll be like, oh, it's just like Cisco, or oh, the bubble's breaking, You better sell everything and hold on tight. Those people are out there, and sometimes, and this is the thing, sometimes the doom and gloom people get it right. Most times they don't, but sometimes they do. It's like that broken clock. It is right twice a day. So, I always be wary when somebody is actually spieling doom and gloom. I got to take it with a grain of salt right away. It's like, okay, tell me why you feel that way. Let me see the data. Let's actually look at it analytically. Let's cut out the emotion. Let's just take a look at the numbers and see what the numbers have to say. And in this case here, Nvidia is strong. Nvidia is very, very strong. Like even when we go into their key data, look at this. Return on equity, 115.66%. Return on assets, 70.10%. And yes, they are skewed up. They are skewed towards the top because of that massive growth that Nvidia has had. Their debt, very little, 22% debt to equity ratio. These are good numbers. These are absolutely good numbers. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing here. And, I think they're going to be a strong company for a long time. Now, not to say they're going to be on the top forever. They're not. They can't be. But I think they got a lot of runway still left. And Mary is asking Enbridge, should I hold? So Enbridge is one of these companies. Utility companies really are going to like, ENB, are going to love those rate cuts. Because utility companies, they do tend to carry more debt, and they've been hurting. They've been hurting through, through the cycle. But I've already begun to see recovery on some of these. So let's take a look here. It's just the last year, and you can sort of see, it's kind of topsy-turvy, but they are making, at least recently they've been making some higher highs here. But now they're kind of in this little downward trend. But I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. Like, Enbridge is one of these companies I think will be fine long term. So if you're looking for fast, quick turnarounds, maybe Enbridge is not for you. But I think if you're looking at the long term, I think Enbridge will be fine, especially on the other side of the rate cuts. Things will look a lot more rosy. Okay. Abelesh says, what do you think about the telecoms? People need them and the utilities. Do you think they will maintain their prices while banks and financials go up slowly during the bull market? It's a good question about the telecoms. So one of the big issues on these telecoms is they all have a lot of debt, and they're in the same boat. Like, I'm glad you mentioned utilities and them in the same sentence, because it is a similar situation that they're running into. Now, in the case of Canada's three telecoms, one of the things that they're also dealing with is you've now got Quebecor, who is technically a national telecom as well, after their purchase of Freedom Mobile, which was sort of a side deal that came out of the Roger Shaw acquisition. I don't think they've been pushing it as much as they should, and I hope that Quebecor really takes a more aggressive stance into that market, and tries to pull a little bit from, because what will end up happening consumer wise is if Quebecor became a real threat, that would cause prices to finally come down a little bit. Canadians will get relief. Chances are, so far they haven't been very good at it, and and we could still get that whole part where sometimes, and this happens, is that Rogers will say, well, these are all our towers, we're going to charge you an exorbitant price to use them, or sometimes they get this way. Sometimes they get very these are my toys, you can't play with them type attitudes. And then the CRTC has to get involved and say, yeah, no, we can't have that. So, we'll have to see how this all turns out. But when it comes to Rogers, Bell, and TELUS, I do see them getting better, slowly. I don't see it as a fast recovery. Now, when you're looking at, for example, Rogers has just a huge amount of debt. So we'll have to see how that's all turns out. But I have a feeling they'll be fine on the long term. But once again, you're not going to get quick returns. Let's see. Ina says, that's what I'm doing. DCA as much as I can. Yeah, absolutely. See, there you go. You got it. What are your thoughts on ET? It's ENB equivalent in the States. Good question. I've never really given it any mind at all. But let's pull it up and take a quick look here. So energy transfer LP. Here we go. All right, so they're definitely smaller, at least share price. Let's take a look here. I want to take a look at their 3-year. Well, this is a lot different than Enbridge. They've been on a very good trajectory up. I do like what I'm seeing there. Let's see, their EPS is above. Their PE ratio, not too shabby. They actually have a pretty good dividend too. That's interesting. That's an interesting dividend. Let's go in here and take a gander at some of their data. All right, so let's see here. All right, so the return on equity, 9.96, 3.16 return on assets. They do have a fair amount of debt, 145% debt to equity ratio. But look at this dividend. It keeps on getting higher. Holy banana bread. That's interesting. That is very, very interesting. You know what? Let's just take a gander in here. All right, let's see here. ET, energy transfer. All right, so let's see. So they are forecast to do better. So 16.95%. So yeah, and they're giving us some warnings like their debt is not covered by but that's a big debt. So we did mention that. So that's the one downside on ET is they have that debt. So that dividend is not covered by their earnings. So that probably means that they're probably using some debt to cover that. So that's interesting. And there's also been some shareholder dilution in here as well. See if that was it. Yeah, that's it for their risks. I mean, I would pay attention to them. Like if it is something that you want to invest in, by all means. Right now, you're getting in crazy. You're getting a crazy total return on it. But that's one to watch because right now this doesn't appear to be sustainable. But at the same time, they are doing really, really well. So we'd have to take a look and figure that out. But I would pay attention to them. So don't set and forget it. This is more or less, I'm going to watch what you're doing every month and make sure. And then if things change, then you get out. That's kind of the way I would look at this one. Okay. Michael says, GTN has PAT earnings made a profit of 0.79 cents and raised the dividend with a 0.08 dividend, which is 114 TV stations, which make money off ads. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, like TV, I think TV stations are still fine. The area that I get more concerned with is radio. I think radio is something I would not invest in right now. But a lot of radio is actually being replaced by AI. There was a website, and we looked at it, I think, about a year and a half ago. I think it was called Radio GPT. Well, I think. Let me just take a look here. Radio GPT. Is that it? I don't know if this is the one I was looking at. No, this is another one, but it's not. There was one they had up here that actually had a sort of a fully working radio station where you could listen to it and sort of get an idea of it. Why is it that I thought Radio GPT, let's just try, I'm going to try to go directly.com and we'll see if that is the one. I don't remember the address. Like I said, we looked at it quite literally more than a year ago. It might not even be up anymore, but I know that the service, no, this one's for sale. So if you guys want Radio GPT, you can buy it for $125,000 USD. Holy banana bread. That's insane. That is insane that somebody would grab something like that. But Yeah, I'm not sure what the address is anymore, but I remember I was looking at it. Whoops, there's the weather. Let's come back here. Actually, let's go to Big Head Me for the moment. So yeah, we were looking at it, and it was like, what the heck? It was really, really good. They even had joking banter and everything. It was all AI. Everything was AI. And I know Rogers bought it, so that not that they bought it, but they actually signed up for it. So I think they were going to use some of for some of the overnight things like that. But yeah, it'll get to the point that when you listen to the radio, it'll be AI pretty darn soon. Yeah, Nvidia has great numbers, low debt, low PE for its sector. Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't have to sell me on Nvidia, that's for sure. And yeah, that's the thing. They beat their earnings and expectations every time, every time. But that's the thing, because a lot of times when you have somebody heading to the moon, if they take a small little detour on that upwards trajectory, a lot of people will start to go, "Oh no, it's all over now. It's time to run." But it's not. It's not. Patience always wins the race. Okay. Hello, Kevin. Good to see you. Vic says, "What metric is fastest way to see if a company is profitable?" Um, Well, the best way to see is look at things. I mean, is there return on equity? All right. Well, here's one example: return on equity. If it's negative, they're not profitable. If it's positive, they're profitable. It boils down to those things. So just looking at it, like look at their earnings per share. Is it in the positive or is it in the negative? Um, but keep in mind too, just because a company is profitable doesn't mean it's a good investment. So you want to sort of take a look at a wider sort of view. And that's why I always say, never rely on any one metric. Look at the big picture. Look at a bunch of them together, because whatever weakness or strength is in that company, it's going to reflect in that bigger picture. It's not going to just sort of be something that pops out of nowhere. Oh yes, the Checkmunkers. I remember. Awesome, awesome. Let's see. Nvidia is going to drop more to president and CEO sold the last 2 weeks of the month. Like I said, if it drops a little more, I'd be happy. It'd be a good time to get in for sure. So it's one of these things I do like. I do like that company. Let's see. SMCI, big drop, then FSLC, big drop on Friday. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of big dropping on Friday. I mean, this whole month hasn't been really great. So, you gotta sort of look at it that way. Dark Anibis says, if you are in a jam, you can always pull gold from the nearest mountain rivers. There we go. There we go. Just head to the mountains. Get yourself a pan, with the little holes in it, and just start waving it back and forth. Do some gold panning. I mean, there's still a lot of gold out there. I think I saw something on the YouTube the other day about people who are still panning in parts of Nova Scotia. It's there. I mean, there is gold. I mean, it's probably not the easiest work out there. I also know as well there was a gold mine. Was it in the Northwest Territories? They had a little bit of a collapse, and apparently they were using a cyanide to try to make the gold easier to get out. So there were some issues with that. I remember I was watching it, and I heard the name, and I was like, okay, nope, that's not a gold mine I have any investment in, so I'm okay. Which is fine. All right. If you guys have not yet hit that like button, now's the time. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee while you guys go down there, hit the like button, turn it blue. Let's see what we can do. Oh, yeah, that's good. Abalash says, when do you predict the bull market will start? What do you think about Ryokan? So a couple of things. First of all, technically, if you look at the S&P 500, it's in a technical bull market. I haven't called it. I'm still sort of looking at it as us being kind of on the initial slopes of a bull market. I think, you're going to see things sort of pick up, provided we don't have a black swan event. We'll definitely see things pick up towards the end of this year. So I've always been kind of adamant that we're going to start seeing a little bit of a better market in the fall. But here's that thing. That doesn't mean that when you go into a bear market, it doesn't mean it's straight up all, through the entire bear market. You're going to have your reversals. You're going to have weeks where things are in the red for the whole week. That's a normal thing. Like you'll get bear patterns within overall bull markets. So, some people will say we're already in the bull market, and there's people out there that are like saying, what? You guys missed the bull market. We already had it. We're heading back into a bear market. There are people who will say that. I don't think that's the case. Especially when you look at it this way. Normally, excuse me, normally a bull market will start kind of at the worst part of your bear market. Your bear market will usually pull things down. And a lot of times if you have a recession, usually around the middle of the recession, that's when the bull market starts to form. And if you think about it this way, let's say we've had a recession and we just nobody's called it. Nobody says that we've had a recession, but if you look at like the GDP per capita, yeah, obviously it's the same effects. So an average person, what we've been through has been like a recession for them. There's no doubt about it. Just because it hasn't been called doesn't mean we don't have the effects of it. So we've been through that, and now things are starting to build back up. But like I said, there will still be corrections. There will still be, we will still have bounces to the downside. We'll have super pumps. We'll have all of that. It's just that when you're in a bull market, it's a little more, it's a little better because you kind of get a general idea that even if you have a correction, it's not a hold on for dear life. It's more of a, buy in the dip time. That's how it sort of comes across. Now, here's the bad news. The bad news is that when we're finished the bull market, there's no clear sign. There's no sign that comes up and says, you are exiting the bull market now. And sometimes that initial drop into the bear market can almost feel like one of those corrections. But the difference is it's a correction that keeps going and going and going. And you can move down pretty quickly. So, let's take a look. I'll show you guys. Like if we look, let's look at, I know what to look at. We'll look at Microsoft. We'll use Microsoft to sort of judge this whole thing. All right, MSFT. Here we go. Come on, load up for me. All right, and we'll go over we'll do a 5-year chart. All right, so as you can sort of see, right over here, you can see there's that little pandemic thing. So we were doing fine just before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and that was labeled as a really short recession, by the way. So that was a recession. Probably the shortest ever on record. But then as support started coming out, we went into this bull market right after that. And everything was looking good. And you can sort of see how we have little corrections. You see these little corrections? All right. And we hit the peak of the bull market. Nobody knew. Everybody was buying. People were like, everything's cool. And then we had this. And then we had a little, so during this part, people were thinking, oh, it's another correction. But no, then it went down and it kept going. We had a little bit of relief. This here would be what you would call like you could call it a bull trap or just a bull pattern that came in. And then we slowly moved down until about October. So right here, October 31st. Then we started moving up. We had a little bit of a falter, but then we've moved up. So look at this. I mean, yeah. So tech is, without a doubt, tech is in a bull market right now. So we don't know. Like you'll see, you have all these corrections, and right now, we're moving a little fat. Maybe we'll have another correction here. But it was kind of interesting. So what was really interesting, though, is when you look at this peak here. So this was around, November, around the middle of November when technically this started. Like it wasn't a bear market until, a little bit further, but that's when it began. So tech was really interesting because tech entered the bear market before everything else did. So tech sort of led the way, and then everything followed pretty quickly after. And tech, of course, also led the way out of that bear market, and everything then followed a little bit afterwards. So tech has kind of been leading the way. So looking at that, there's a possibility, and it's not a guarantee, but there's a possibility if tech starts to slide and really starts going down, it could be a precursor. Could we be looking at this again? And could that mean the rest of the market is about to follow? It's possible, but you also have to look at the fact that the market will sometimes do whatever the market wants. So sometimes, no matter how logical you are, no matter how much something seems to make sense, the market can sometimes surprise you. And that's just a little thing to sort of keep in mind. But yeah, so that's kind of with Microsoft. And you can sort of see, absolutely, tech is here. It's in a bull market. Not a doubt. No doubt about that. Now when you're looking at things like RioCan, so let's come in here. Sorry, REI. There we go, RioCan. And we'll go to the 5-year. All right, so you can see here, holy banana bread, look at this. That's a pandemic drop for sure. And it was big time. But let's go out to the 10-year for a moment. And this is kind of what I like. Here's the thing about RioCan. So we're a REIT. A REIT is basically designed to pass on taxes to investors so that they don't have to pay them. So they're not paying any taxes, and it's a form of income. So they're used as an income, basically an income tool. So you'll see that their price usually stays around the same. Like that's pretty flat. Like you can go 15 years, you can see pretty flat. It was a little bit lower down here, but for the most part, look at this, from 2011 to 2020. So for 9 years, pretty much flat. That's by design. That's how these things are set up. So we have this pandemic and bang, like look at this. Could you imagine? Imagine if you bought RioCan right here on the 17th. And you bought it at $27, a whole bunch of them. You're thinking, yeah, I love real estate. And then a couple days later, basically, a couple months later, but basically just a couple days later. So by March 9th, it's it's down to like $20. Well, $20.65. So, that's a big, actually, that's even lower. So there you go, 15.40 something. Oh, I was hooking on this. That's fine. But yeah, look at this. This is just a massive drop. And as you can see, it has, like, this is the bear market that followed. And there was their peak. Now look at their peak. They peaked on the 28th. So basically, where tech sort of come in a little bit better. Sorry, they haven't recovered. But yeah, so they came up, they peaked, then they went down. So, and tech probably went down, was it around, actually, yeah, tech went down about here, around 11th in October 15th. That's what we were looking at with Microsoft. So tech went here, and it was still going up after tech had begun its fall. But then it began its fall basically 4 months afterwards. And that was like a lot of the market. And they've just never really recovered very much. They've gone down. They're at a great price. Now, here's the beautiful thing. As rates get under control, and as we start to get some recovery on here, it's not unreasonable to think they're going to try to get back up to like $25. Not unreasonable. Will they get there? It's going to be rough. I see them finding an equilibrium probably around 22, to be honest. I don't think they'll make it up to the 26. I think maybe 22, you might get there. It's going to take a while, but that's one of the reasons right now when they're at 1681, I've been sort of dollar cost averaging in the challenge, picking up a couple here, picking up a couple there, because, I'm only going to, now with the challenge, I will ride it probably up to about 22, and then I will sell them just because, I can find a better total return at that point. But I think between now and then, this will provide a pretty good total return. So that is what I am looking for. Okay. All right, let's close that for the moment. Let's see here. Oh, Terry. What do we have here? Sure, Terry. Here's a clever limerick week on okay. Here's a clever limerick. Each week on a digital screen, Mountain Finance keeps money keen. With insight so grand, it's finance in hand. Scaling profits like peaks, it's a dream. Oh my. And yeah, and Al says this is one of the reasons I don't like REITs. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, I'm a total return investor. So I normally don't hold a lot of REITs. But here's the thing. I know that they're all really depressed right now and they have to make that bounce back. So I don't mind riding that bounce up because to me that's logical. So I'm riding these guys. I'll show you the other one. I also got Timber Creek Financial. Now they're not a REIT, okay, but they behave just like a REIT because they are a pure real estate company. They have properties. They do everything like a REIT without being technically a REIT. When you look at them over the 5 years, you can sort of see that there's their pandemic drop. Let's go back longer. You can sort of see they kind of get the same general idea, flat. So they're normally up around $9. So they're at 7. So I can see them getting back to, I would say, realistically, almost 9. And that's probably where I will sell them. Now, the third one I just added, and you guys will see this, it's a brand new ETF. And it is RMAX. All right, so let's put this up. So this here is Hamilton's REIT Yield Maximizer. It's brand new, like it quite literally. Let's just go to, let's go to 1 month. There we go. It began on the 20th of June. And it opened at 1601. Sorry, yeah, or was it? No, 1602. And look at this. It's up to 1624. So this right now, there's going to be a lot of growth potential on this as the sector recovers. That's fantastic. Now they're writing covered calls and everything else. Now they don't have a distribution yield here yet, but well, we can fix that. Let's just see here. We'll go to their page. All right, let's see here. Here we are right here. So this is their page. So right now they're looking at about 13.5 cents for a dividend. So that works out to, I'm sure they have a thing in here somewhere. They may not have a yield in here. Where is their yield? Oh, well, it works out to, I think, somewhere's around 13%, something like that. So, you know, somebody can do the math if they want to. No, I don't care about that. But here is some of the nice things about it. Let me. All right. So right now they're going to be writing options on about 30% of that portfolio. And so they've got a heavy amount of, they've got retail REITs, industrial REITs, telecom tower. So they got a little bit of everything. But one of the things that I do like here is, here it is. Half of their REITs are in the US and half are in Canada. So it's a 50-50 split. Oh, oh, sorry. Here we are. So yeah, so half of the REITs are in Canada. The other half are in the United States. So right now their top investments are, let's see, Riocan, Dream Industrial, Equinox, Prologis, American Tower Corp. So it looks, well, actually, it looks like it's all equal weighting because they're all at 5%. So pretty cool. The management fee on it, 0.65%. I don't see a MER in here. I'd have to probably dig to get it, MER, but it's not too shabby. It's not too shabby. I'm liking what they have right now. I don't know if they have anything on their distribution page. Yeah, just what the one estimate is 13.5 cents. So that's not too shabby, really. Not too shabby. I wish they'd put a yield. Normally they put a yield here, but I think it's because everything is still brand new. We're still waiting for information on them. But yeah, this is just one of these things. I can't believe. I just probably explained a whole bunch of stuff on the screen without actually having the screen up. That's hilarious. Holy cow. Holy cow. What do you think? What do you think? Just give me a second here. Yeah, here was me just showing you a little. This is the screen I was initially showing you. And let's go back here to Timber Creek Financial. I mentioned this one as well. And I was sort of talking about, go to the 10-year, how they kind of have this whole flat thing. And this is what's nice too about Timber Creek Financial. It's one of the reasons I think they can get above the 9 is you'll notice after the big pandemic drop, they made it back up. They actually made it right back to where they normally are. But then we had the bear market and, then bear market and then high rates. Double whammy. But they will probably make it back up to about $9, maybe a little higher. But for me, I'm looking to sell them at about $9. So, and then I'll get something that has a better potential for total return at that point. So definitely cool. Definitely cool. I can't believe we'll just leave that be. We'll leave that be. Nobody will mention that at all. Let's see here. Abalash says, do you think it's better to go into cash equivalents? So cash.to right now. It doesn't hurt to have a cash position. It never hurts to have a cash position. The nice thing about cash.to is that you're at least getting, almost 5%. And I think somebody in the market close the other day said PSA was paying a little more. Let me take a look. Whoops. Let's get out of there. PSA. All right. PSA. Whoops. Not 2 S's. PSA. So PSA, the Purpose High Interest Savings Fund. So it's kind of the same thing, $50. And yeah, it's paying slightly over 5%. So 5.037. And when you look at these for people who are not familiar with these type of things, basically it maintains a price of $50. And then it does go up. It goes up and down, but that's basically it's a predictable cycle. Let me go down to the 1 year and then you can really sort of see it. So what happens is on ex-dividend day, that's when it's at the $50. And then as you go towards the next ex-dividend day, the price slowly creeps up. And as you see here, it goes up to $50.20, and then they pay out the dividends, bang. So somebody had asked me, well, shouldn't I just play that instead? Just buy here, sell here, since it's such, since I know the clockwork. So if you look at it that way, yeah, I mean, you got, basically that would give you 20 cents per share every month. And it pays out, let's see here, where is it? 18.2 cents. So you would make a couple of pennies by doing that. However, if you're doing that in your TFSA, it's really, really close to being day trading. Because normally, you want to wait 31 days before you rebuy. So let's say you do this in February. Well, you only got 28 days. So you may not, it may cause some issues. So I would definitely have some issues. Please share the screen for the new Hamilton ETF. Okay, yeah, absolutely. So this is the new Hamilton ETF right here. So Hamilton REITs Yield Maxer ETF. So it started like it was listed at 1602, and now I think it's 1620. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Like right now, their initial estimation on their dividend is 13.5 cents. So, I don't have a yield yet. I don't know. You'd have to do the math to figure out what the exact yield is. But I'm pretty excited about this one. So normally, let's go to the overview. So the overview just gives you a general idea. Like it does have a lot of different REITs. So it's got some good diversification on it. The ticker is RMAX, RMAX. On the you want to make sure it's on the TSX, because there is an RMAX on the US on the New York Stock Exchange, and it's not a REIT at all. But yeah, so it's kind of good. It just shows you a little bit here. So they do covered calls. It will be interesting to see if down the line we get a well, Hamilton hasn't been doing the leveraged ones, but that would be kind of sweet to see what type of a return you might get on that. But it's a nice looking. So there's their distributions. Like I said, we haven't had the first dividend yet. It's only been out since June 20th. So a little bit of fact sheets. Here's some ETF facts. I don't know. Let's take a look. and see if it gives us sort of an idea for their yield. Let's see. So yeah, like, look, this information is not available because it is a new ETF. This information, so that we don't have a MER yet because it's a new ETF. So it's kind of one of those things. Now, normally I try to avoid getting in on some of these high ETF. Like, I'll show you why. Let me show you something. Let's go back here. Let's go to the Bitcoin yield. So BTCH, sorry, BTCY. Okay, I almost spelled a bad word there. Okay, so here we go. Press Bitcoin yield, and they've been around not that long, but they started at the height of Bitcoin. So as you can see, they came out at $9.41, and a lot of people got in. And then we had the crypto winter start, and Bitcoin crashed big time. And next thing you know, you're down at $3 and whatever, $3.16. And you'll notice it never did get back up to here, even though we've had Bitcoin new all-time highs. But that's part of that capital erosion that you will have with these type of ETFs, because they do employ a little bit of return on capital, and plus it's just kind of the way they work. Now, let me throw in a caveat. If you were reinvesting those dividends, like the really good dividends, all the way through, you probably are very close, if not just a little bit above that. I'd have to do the math to verify that. But if you're reinvesting them, so you're getting dividend upon dividend upon dividend. So that would be a really interesting calculation. I may have to do that. But yeah, so that's gonna be interesting. All right. There we go. So HMAX keeps on dropping their monthly dividends. Is it erosion of the underlying holdings? So, well, let's go to HMAX. So that's another one of the Hamilton ones. All right, and that's their financial yield one. And right now they're sitting at a 15.80% dividend. So when we go, let's go look at these dividends. First of all, let's go in here. All right, so we can sort of see they started at 17.7, then they went to 17.4, then they rose 17.5, 17.3, 17.7. So it looks to me like it depends on what they're making. So it doesn't look to me like we're looking at erosion in that sense. If they're doing well, it looks like they'll go up a little. So it looks like they have a little bit of movement on this. So it's definitely something to watch. If this starts going down big time, then you want to start, saying, uh-oh, what's going on? So let's give you another example here. If you look at another Hamilton one, HYLD. All right, so this is the US covered call. And we don't even care about the price right now. Let's just go to the data. So when you look at this one here, all right, and we're going to go back. They initially began around 14 cents. And they were at 14 cents for a while, and then they had this big drop because the market was in a bear market, and they weren't doing as well. So they did drop it down to 12 cents. But once the market improved, they went back up to 13.8. Then they went back to their 14. And I imagine that's exactly what they're going to do. I mean, it's the same management type company. Well, it's the same company. I imagine Hamilton will do the same thing with RMAX as well, or sorry, HMAX. I have a feeling they'll do the same thing once the financial industry starts recovering a bit more. You'll see them push that dividend back up. So it's more or less just, and I appreciate this. Instead of, for example, some companies will just still pay the dividend even if they can't afford it. And then they'll take on some extra debt, and that'll make things compound in a bad way within that company. So I would rather them do this and let us just have our, then bring it back up when the company, when you're making more premiums on these options that are being written on the underlying asset. So definitely something that I agree with. Okay, now, all right, let's take a look at what's going on here coming up on the channel over here on the Discord. So those of you who are new, over on the Discord, we got tons of stuff. There's a link down below, by the way, for the Discord. We got a couple of different things here. We now have a requested video section right here. So if you have some video ideas, you can throw this in. And, no guarantee I'm going to do it. But if it's a great idea, there's no guarantee I won't do it. Let's just say that as well. I like these. It gives me an idea of what you guys want. And I do try to do that. We also have, this is where you find the pool. So for our deep dives, where you find those videos, we also have, a deep dive request if there's a company you want. Like Sammer just put in NNE for the US. So what I'll do is I'll come over here. I don't know if I did that one yet or not. NNE, I will come up to the pool. And it's a US stock. I have not added that yet. So I'll add that right now. There we go. So now that is in the pool. And this is where I pull, if you've ever seen the voting that we do, because I always let you guys vote on which company I'm going to deep dive. This is where it all comes from. But what I brought you guys over here for is the schedule. This is the schedule, so you know what videos are coming out, what live streams are coming out. Now look at this. I haven't removed the old ones already. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to remove this one too because we're in that one right now. So let's just remove those. We'll remove that. Oh, there we go. So coming up, the 0 to 100K challenge is coming up this week. We also have a market close on Wednesday. I will give you guys an opportunity on Wednesday to earn another market close for Friday. So I was thinking about doing it for Monday, and then I thought, wait a minute, Monday's Canada Day. So the market's closed. So it would be a closed market close. Yeah, it'd be funny, but yeah. So we got that coming up, and we also have that bonus ETF. So right now, there's still a vote on. There's still time to vote if you want to. It's PDIV versus XEI on the community tab. PDIV is losing. I really wanted to do that one too, but you know what? I respect the vote. But if you have not yet voted, just head over to the community tab, give it a vote. Even if it's just a passing vote, even if it's losing, give it a vote. It's okay. And then we just have the regular schedule. So I'll put stuff in here as they sort of come. But this is the next interesting thing. So our next milestone is when we hit 4,000 subs. We're going to do an open to close live stream. That's our special thing for that. Now, I will update you guys where we're at right now. We're at 39.35, so 65 away. I can tell you right now, I pick up more than 100 subs every month. So pretty much this is a July thing. So this will happen in July, that 4,000 sub open to close live stream. This is going to be great. So just for those people who are new, I do something odd or something different at every milestone. So at 1,000 subs, I did a drinking stream. Yep, a drinking live stream, and I don't drink, so it didn't take much for me to get a little bit tipsy on that stream. At 2,000, I did the Hot Ones challenge, so I was breathing fire on that stream. Now at 3,000, and you guys came up with this one. I did a news parody video, so it's out there, it's sitting there. I loved it. I actually loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a lot of fun. But yeah, this is the 4,000. 4,000 is the open to close live stream. It's going to happen. It's going to be fun. Then after that, I have to then come up with the 5,000. I don't know yet what it's going to be. It's like, it's not like I can keep outdoing myself, but we'll figure something out. And a lot of times I listen to you guys as well. You guys usually throw like the parody one that came directly from one of these chats. You guys were saying, yeah, you should do it. You should do it. I was like, okay, we'll do it. So just something to keep in mind. All right, as we move later into the session here, or into the night, we're almost done. So throw in your last minute, your comments, questions, all of that fun stuff. All right, what about PFV? So PFV, of course, is Pfizer. Pfizer's not doing so well. Now, I'm not 100% sure who KR is. Is that Kroger? Let's go back and take a look here. Oh, whiteboard. All right. Well, we'll look at Pfizer first. PFE. They haven't been doing that well lately. There we go. Pfizer right down here. Now, I will say one thing about Pfizer. I mean, overall, this is a company that has, and don't even think about the pandemic. A lot of people, when they hear Pfizer, that's what they think of. They think about the pandemic. But long before the pandemic, they have done a lot of innovation in pharmaceuticals. So they are a pretty good company. I'd still consider them a blue chip. But let's look at here. They have not been doing well. Oh boy. This is like a steep slope. It's like they're not heading to the moon. They're trying to drill to the Earth's core. But it's one of these things, like, how low can they go? If we look at their 10-year, they've been in, see, this is the thing. They have had a nice slow build upwards. So when you look at where they're at right now, well, heck, it's been, oh God, it has been, they haven't been this low in pretty much 10 years. They hit it right back here in, what date is that there? Sorry, 2014. So yeah, they have been hurting. I have no doubt that with Pfizer, they're going to make a comeback, but how long is it going to take? I'm not sure. Whether or not you DCA in, that of course is up to yourself, but I still see them as having a good chance. Now let's go into their key data for a moment here and just take a gander at a couple things here. This here is not good. So right now they're not profitable. So we have a negative return on equity. You remember, Vic, you asked that question. So right now that's not looking good, but their debt to equity ratio, it's only 75%. Still, they are certainly struggling. Yeah, they're struggling. It's a company that I still think they'll be fine in the long terms, but I would definitely suggest do a little bit more due diligence to try to see what is going on there. Now you also mentioned KR. Now, is that Kroger? Because that's what popped into my head. Oh, it is Kroger. Here we go. All right, so let's go to that 3-year and take a look. All right, this is looking a little better. At least they're not doing what Pfizer was doing. But at the same time, I mean, there's not a lot of big. Well, there was that little bump there, but now I can see right now they have a positive EPS, so I'm feeling they're going to look a little bit healthier when we come down here and take a look. Oh yeah, oh look at this. That's a really nice return on equity. That's high. That's kind of high. 171.85. So I would be. And here's one of these things. When I look at a company, I can usually come in and say, okay, I have an idea where their ROE should be. And when I see something that big on there, it makes me think that something's inflating it, that there's something in the math that is causing this to look a lot better than it probably should. From looking at just their growth, I can't see them being that high. So I would be that. It's not a red flag, but it would make me want to dig a little bit deeper. Now, I do like their debt to equity, 62%. So that's not too shabby. But yeah, I mean, out of the two. So right now, if I had to lay my money on either Kroger or Pfizer, this is going to be surprising, but I might go with Pfizer. And the reasoning behind that is I think Pfizer has a lot of room to recover and to rebound. So there's a lot more room to ride that back up. But yeah, that's kind of where I would sit on that. All right. Al Bundy says, what does Blossom Pro membership give you? I think there's a breakdown actually on Blossom, but let me just, let's see here. Oh, this is their, oh, yeah. Oh, this is a behind the scenes site. So yeah, you guys aren't supposed to see that. That's fine. That's fine. Let me just see here. Next thing you know, Brandon Beavis is going to be calling me and saying, did you show the Blossom Notional site on your live stream? And I'll be like, not on purpose. I'll just see if I can find it here. Let's see. Blossom. We'll just do Blossom Pro features. Now, I knew they give you more statistics. They give you some dividend stuff, all of that fun stuff. But here it is. A little bit more, because I'll miss some stuff here as well. Let's see. Blossom Social Review. How Blossom Social works. Key features. All right. Oh, those are pros and cons. Are they? Okay. What's included in Blossom Pro? Here we go. Oh, really? I thought, see, I've had Blossom Pro since the beginning, so I didn't realize my sector breakdown. I thought everybody could see it, but it does provide you with a whole bunch of different things when it comes to breaking your statistics, taking it to the next level. It also provides some of the educational videos. So there's videos in there where you can watch like the first couple of minutes. These are the longer videos, like a tutorial that Brandon does, for example. It allows you to watch all of that. It lets you, the monthly dividends. It gives you this dividend prediction thing. Let me see if I can, actually, let me pull the Blossom up on the computer because I can pull the app up here because it's a Mac. Oh, that's definitely not Blossom. All right, here we go. All right, I'm loading it right now. Let's bring it. Whoa, let's not do that. All right, we'll bring it over and I'm going to max screen it here so you guys can sort of see things a little bit. All right, so when you go into the portfolio, all right, let me see here. Performance sectors. I'm used to doing this on my thing here, but all right. Oh, sorry. That's what I wanted. Dividends. Let's go over to dividends here. All right. Dividend forecast. Now, this here is for the 0 to 200K challenge. So I've only put that into Blossom because I want you guys to be able to go in and pay attention and watch the thing as we go. Let's see. All right, so here we are. These are the payouts that. All right, let's take a look here. That's not what I'm looking for. Oh, there is this thing in here. I can't even find it. I'm like, where the hell is it? Dividend allocations. No, that's not what I was looking for. There is a thing in here where it will actually show you. Oh, here it is. The dividends calendar. It was up a bit. So I can click on this and it can actually tell me right now what's going to happen. So on July 3rd, BTCY BNS. Well, here's for BNX, it's the X dividend date. Now BTCY, I think that was closer to the. I thought that was closer to the. Well, maybe the third. I'm not sure, but it gives you like the X date. It tells you what to expect each of your dividends. So that's one of the extra features that you have here. So you can sort of go through and sort of see when dividends are coming and how much they're going to be. Friday, July 19th, BDT. Are they monthly? For some reason, I was thinking that Bird Construction was quarterly, but maybe they're monthly. Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah, so it's just kind of a neat little extra feature in here. I don't know if I can. Yeah, so under the Learn section, so these are the Blossom courses I was mentioning. So here's Investing 101. It's great for people who are new. So that's basically an hour and 30 minutes of Brandon Beavis telling you all kinds of basics. You get to watch those if you are on the pro version. Now, there's also a Trading 101 from Humble Trader, Personal Finance 101. So there's a few of them up here. Now you also have the opportunity to earn. So with the earn, for example, if you come down here and you watch this video on asset allocation ETFs, BMO gives you 50 cents and it gets added to your wallet. So my wallet's sitting at $19. You can also send money in here. So let's say you go and let's say you had a YouTuber or something that you like, or maybe not even a YouTuber, maybe one of, let's see, one of you guys, we'll say Enid. So let's say Enid has a post and you're like, oh my God, that was a very useful post. You could come in here and watch a couple of these videos, earn $1, and then go to Enid's profile and send her $1. And then it gets put in here. And then she could withdraw it whenever she wants to. It just gets withdrawn. I think it's a bank transfer. I've never actually tried to withdraw it. So, but yeah, it's one of those things that happens. So, and there's a whole bunch of different ones. So, there's some by Global X. And a lot of them, I mean, they're giving you the information. So, for example, like right this here, what are covered calls? They will tell you all about it, but they'll use their own products as examples. So, obviously, if you're interested in covered calls and they're showing you some of the Global X covered calls, good chance you're probably going to get one of theirs. So that's kind of one of the reasons. So there's, you got Global X, you got BMO, you got Harvest in here as well. middle field. I've not really looked at these ones. So, there's a whole bunch that are in here. Oh, here's one. You just watch this one from venture vesting and you could earn a buck. So there's a whole bunch in here. Anyway, I could just sort of go on and on for that. But one of the things that they are doing is they are always looking at adding new features. And that'll be not just for everyone, but also for Pro. So they'll be adding new stuff for Pro as well. I know some of the things that one of the things that's coming out soon, I think this is for everybody, is direct messaging. So that way there on the app, for example, let's say Enid does write that really great post and you wanted to just ask her something, but you didn't want to ask her in the comments. You'd be able to direct message her and say, hey, Enid, loved your post. Here's something maybe you might want to think about, or could you clarify something for me? You could do that, or you can do it right in the post as well. I mean, I think the community is pretty open, but it's just nice to be able to have that direct messaging, because then I can start direct messaging Canadian in a t-shirt all the time and start bugging them, because that would be fun. Oh, I did, and this is coming out in the video tomorrow, or sorry, the video Tuesday. I did look a little bit more at Norbert's Gambit, and you can do it. You can do it on National Bank Direct Brokerage. So I know how to do it over there. It's actually not that hard. I actually tell you how to do it in the video. Just I don't actually go through a live example, but I tell you. I give you the basics. So I think most people could just watch tomorrow's or Tuesday's video. Though if you're a channel member, it's tomorrow, and probably pull it off. So that is all that fun stuff. 4,000 for a Trump costume. Really? I mean, you could probably put it on a scarecrow and it would scare away everything. Maybe that's worth it. Not a fan, to be clear. Okay. Enid says, I like the sector allocation of your portfolio. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and actually some of the numbers are getting a little bit closer to where I want them to be, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that'll all come out in the video on Tuesday. So we've been at this for 2 hours and 17 minutes. You gotta like those long ones, huh? Happy Canada Day, everybody. I hope you guys all get out and have some fun tomorrow. Maybe catch some, yeah, and Al's saying here, super easy. It's not hard. It is absolutely not hard. And I'll be honest, one of the reasons I haven't made a video on it is that it would probably be a pretty short video. But, that's why I sort of included a little bit in here. But, yeah, absolutely. 4K subs fun costume. No, I'm not going to wear a costume. It's not like I'm going to say, okay, well, we already have the 4,000, but at 5,000, it's like, dress up as a circus performer. It's like, no. Yeah. All right. And Vic is saying, thanks. Goodbye. Thank you, Candace, for the session. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. All right. Without any further ado, thank you guys for being here. We will see you, of course, again at the market close on Wednesday. Until then, take care and have a fantastic holiday. Bye, everybody. Whoops. It's a fake start. It's a fake stop. Whoops. I noticed I'm sitting here. I do the wave and then I freeze. Like them old TV shows. I freeze and I'm waiting. And it didn't end. And I'm looking there. I'm like, oh, I just missed the end stream. All right. This time I'm really gone. Bye, everybody.